Now that we've saved our document, our flash map, let's make sure that we go back and make sure that we have all the things that we need. We have our symbol for our title. We have a symbol for our hiker. We have a symbol for our map key, and it's on its own layer, and all these are on their own layers. All the symbols that we're going to be animating are going to be on their own layers. And then we have our path, which we're not going to animate, but we're going to be using for our animation, and it's on its own layer. Then I have an elements layer, which is just a lot of random things, and I could move those around if I needed to. And then I have a background, which is just the background colors. Let's go ahead and lock the elements and background layers just by clicking on the lock icon there, and you can actually click and drag and it will lock or unlock multiple layers, which is kind of nice. And the next thing that we're going to be doing is extending out our timeline so that we have some sort of length to our animation. So for all the layers, we can add to the timeline all at once. I'm going to go to frame 10, and I'm going to do this by clicking and dragging on that empty keyframe or empty frame at frame 10 and dragging all the way down. Now you right click and choose Insert Frame. You can also press F6, I think F5, I'm sorry, and that will insert frames as well. You'll see that now what we've done is we've extended that first keyframe all the way through frame 10, and that's where we have the box. So it means that this timeline is active for all of them, but there's no change in the data yet of what happens between those different frames. Okay, so we're going to begin by animating our text in. So the way we do this is we have two choices. We can right-click on the text itself and choose Create Motion Tween, or we can click on the timeline and choose Create Motion Tween. Now be aware that there's another item here when we right-click on the timeline, and that's Create a Classic Tween, and that's a motion tween for CS3 and Flash beforehand. So we're going to be creating a motion tween because this is the new type of tween that we're able to do with CS4. So right click, choose Create Motion Tween, and you'll see that that layer turns to a different color. It turns blue now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the end, and I'm just going to select the text and hit the down arrow one single time and then back up. And it's actually in the exact same place now. If you notice, though, on the timeline, you'll notice that we have this one little dot, and that dot is indicating a keyframe for a position, or really for whatever we've changed. Now, one of the things that's really important to understand about animators is we typically design things to be, here's what the end of the animation will look like right now, and I need to create a keyframe for the end of the animation, then go back to the very beginning of the animation, click on my item, and then move it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it straight up, and you can use the arrow keys to nudge it up, and if you hold down the Shift key, it'll nudge it in increments of 10. So we're going to move that text just off the stage a little bit. Now we're going to scrub the timeline and watch that animation, and you'll see that it animates right down. So one of the things that you want to be aware of in typical animations is that you typically animate from the end back to the beginning instead of from the beginning to the end, because you want to know what your end result is going to be and then animate to that end result. Now there's one last thing that we're going to do here, and that is we're going to look at improving the quality of this animation just a little bit. If you click on that animation, go over to Properties, we have this thing called Easing, and we're going to click and drag that in. And what this does is this makes it so that as it gets close to the end, it's going to slow down, and that's with Ease Out. Let's go ahead and save our work, and then we're going to go into the next type of animation. We're going to animate our map key and then our hiker as well.